So at the end of 2019, I released my VP as a solo artist. It was named after the first song on it, Human Procrastination, and here it is in vinyl form. I'll just get it out of its sleeve. Ooh, there is a lyric sheet there as well. I'll read them. So let's plop it on the vinyl player, which is actually probably the most unmolested piece of equipment I have. This is probably the only thing I actually haven't ever taken apart. So track 1 is called Human Procrastination, and it was a song that I wrote at some point in 2019, and it's basically about, human procrastination. I know, procrastination is a word that I probably only actually learned about a year ago, but I've used it a heck of a lot since then. It's one of my most favourite words because I do it a lot. I actually did a TED talk last year about procrastination, specifically strategic procrastination, so the word procrastination was definitely in the forefront of my mind when I wrote this. I didn't actually think of the word procrastination with the song until quite a way into the songwriting process, where it just fell out, and it was like, okay, that'll work. So it's about sort of brushing the problems under the rug, so to speak. And instead of doing what we should be doing, we're pretty much going on holiday, and that is a human trait that is probably never going to leave us, and it might be our demise. Well, we've been filling up the shelves with things we never needed. Soon those things will take their toll, and we might get deleted, apparently. I actually wrote this just before I went on tour in November, like I went around Europe, and in that time I sort of added a few other chunks to it. In all of the gigs I started slowing it down at the end and adding an end section. The end section, which is where it slows down and goes a bit like, oh, it's all gone wrong, everything's gone wrong. Yeah, that didn't exist, and then I just started slowing it down and went with the flow. Whacked up the frequency modulation into the resonance to make those really wet sounding end of world noises that I thought, were sort of required for a theme of a song, kind of like this one. Initially, I actually was singing some parts over the top of that, but it didn't really sound that good, so I ended up just playing the solo line on top instead. I don't know how this happened, and I'm not actually really up on my music theory, but it isn't just in one key. Like, you've got the standard major or minor key, and then it adds a couple of majors here and there. The chorus, A minor becomes A major. I don't know, it felt right when I was writing it. It was kind of uplifting. I actually wrote that bit on the guitar instead of, and then in the pre-chorus it's E major instead of E minor. The E major in the pre-chorus is used quite a lot. It's nothing new, but it's actually called the Devil's Chord because it was classed as a bit evil whenever it came into songs back in ye old times. For the music video, me and my friend Johnny, we built this transparent stage thing. I ordered this massive bit of perspex, and we didn't know whether it was going to hold. And we kind of made a frame for it overnight, just drilling loads of bits, plopped it on, and then just emptied my whole room, just built it around this see-through stage, and it actually turned out surprisingly well. At the end I was supposed to be floating around and look like I was floating, but it was really painful because I bought one of the worst harnesses from Screwfix. It was like for lumberjacks, and I put it inside some overalls, and my gosh, the chafe was unreal. I've worn a lot of harnesses in the past, but that was the most uncomfortable harness I think I've ever put on, and I don't think I'm the same person down there as I was before shooting that video. And the idea of the Teletubbies was sort of an afterthought, and it was like, I for some reason last year, I've got this project still coming up, I'm still trying to collect as many Poes as I can, but we thought, why don't we just chuck a load of Poes floating? Track number 2, Groundhog Day. This was one of the first songs that I wrote in the Look Mum No Computer project, and it took a while for these songs actually to come out because I didn't know whether to put a band together or just stick being solo and stuff. Should I call the music thing Look Mum No Computer as well? And it just sort of made sense and it happened. But yeah, I wrote Groundhog Day in 2017. It was probably the first one that I wrote. I think I actually wrote the initial thing in a Patreon live stream. It was one of the first ever Patreon live streams I did, and I multi-track recorded it, and I think that actually became the song. And I just sat with it for a few weeks and just came up with the lyrics. And I thought there would be a funny little part where there was a fake church in there, so I did a load of fake choir. You do all of the voices. You imagine like you're the old guy in the back, with like, and then you imagine you're the little kid at the bottom, and you're like, and you record them all together in all of their harmonies, and You know, it sort of sounds like a church-ish. And the music video for Groundhog Day I actually did with my mate Johnny again. And it's quite a funny story how the coffin came about. So Johnny actually sent me a text of a Gumtree listing for secondhand coffins. He'd sent me it, and I, without myself thinking about it, without even thinking about it, I knew I needed it. I didn't know why I needed it, so I just sent an email over saying, I'll buy it, I'll buy one. And yeah, and this was when I was in a guardianship in Mile End in London. And the next day, an undertaker van came to the front of the building and pulled out a coffin in the middle of like rush hour. Loads of people walking into the tube, which was directly opposite my guardianship. And they were like, what the hell? Why is there a coffin being pushed into this building? So I managed to get the coffin into the building and just left it there for a few days in the waiting area. I lived with a load of other people in this building. And yeah, everybody kind of raised their eyebrows and looked a bit panicky when they saw a coffin just laying in the middle of this waiting room. Needless to say, I bought it without really thinking of a plan for it. Initially, I was going to build it as like a heart rate monitor synth. The joke being, it reads your heart rate, it plays the synth line, and when your heart rate stops, the song stops, and you need the coffin anyway at that point. So, you know, it's kind of like, you know, kill two birds with one stone. Not literally. And yeah, the coffin is the perfect size for me, so I have saved money for somebody somewhere down the line. Track number 3, Damage Is Done. Damage Is Done is a song that I've been mulling on for quite some time now. I've played it at nearly every single gig that I've played, and it's always different every single time. I initially wrote it the night before I recorded maybe my third Look Mum No Computer video, and then Johnny, Sim and I went to Bethnal Green St John's Church in the morning to shoot a sort of video for it. Basically Sim performing drums to some synth lines that I had written. And the actual composition for that video was a very big afterthought, and I sort of realised I didn't have a song until the night before, and I had to quickly stumble together and quickly come up with a few riffs, and I've literally made the lyrics up on the spot, and they are still there in that song now. And there wasn't a chorus in a live version of that song. I wrote it at some point on tour somewhere. I do a lot of making up on stage, and then slowly these making up songs sort of become songs. Track number 4, Modern Gas. This is another song that I wrote at a similar time to Groundhog Day. I actually wrote it on the guitar as a guitar song. It was just after my last band split up, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to play synthesizers no more. And genuinely, for 1 month, I actually boxed up all my synthesizers and had a complete change of heart and was like, I'm gonna be a guitar dude now. I'm gonna play sad songs on my guitar. Don't believe in miracles. But yeah, that song actually started as a guitar song, and there is actually a rough demo around when I wrote it in early 2018 of it on guitars and drums and stuff. I need to pull that out somewhere. But yeah, this song is about modern life getting sour. I guess it's a little bit Fred Dibnerian, because, you know, in the words of Blur, modern life is rubbish, and whenever you are in modern life, it always seems rubbish. I don't know, there's nothing quite like looking back and going, those were the days, because you knew how it was going to happen. Everything was played out. You got used to car designs, you got used to technology at that point, and now everything's new in modern life. It's all uncertain and unsure, and it's all just going a bit sour, and it's always a bit sour. But yeah, and you look back a year ago and it's like, oh, those were the days, right? And the term modern gas, it was sort of like, you know, modern hot air, but I was actually thinking like diesel, like loads of modern diesel. I don't know, it was a weird one, but sort of works, I guess. I remember it took me a while to write the lyrics. I quite like writing very frank, upfront lyrics, and I always find them very hard to actually place the right lyrics, because when you're trying to be poetic and twisty-roundy, you can get away with a lot more, and I find that when you try and write frank lyrics that are about blatantly obvious things, it's actually quite difficult to find the right words to fit, you know, to make it sound a little bit smooth but be really brutally upfront, sort of a bit frictiony because they're so blatantly obvious in a way. But it did take a while, and yeah, I remember actually day by day, hour by hour, this modern age is getting sour. I made that up when I was walking over the traffic lights over the road to go and get a portion of cheesy chips. But yeah, it did take a while to piece that song together, and then I finally recorded it on synthesizers and stuff, and it sort of started to sound right, and I'm pretty chuffed with that. Grandma's Money I actually wrote to procrastinate from making the flamethrower organ, and yeah, basically the flamethrower organ was something I had an idea of doing it, and I was like, yes, it's happening, I'm doing it, but I didn't have any clue how to do it. I had no understanding of any sort of gas or flamethrowers or anything, and I just sort of jumped in the deep end, went to the plumbing shop, bought a load of copper, big methane bottle, and started making it. But yeah, needless to say, I actually procrastinated for a fair few days writing this song and a few others because I just didn't want to start, because I didn't know how to. But after a while I managed to just figure it out, and it actually happened, and I built it. 3 weeks later the flamethrower organ came to be. Grandma's Money is, in a weird way, is basically about landlords. Yeah, it didn't really make sense. I didn't really have a proper reason for writing it. It just kind of came out, and it was like about old money, buying up all of the buildings, but you know, charging loads of rent and stuff. I mean, I don't know, it's just, it felt right to write at the time, and it came out, and I was happy with it. This was also at the time of Brexit, and it was a lot of like the age difference in the voting thing, but we're not going to get into that. That's a whole other kettle of fish entirely. And on side B there is instrumentals of all of the songs, including the live Groundhog Day that was sort of extended. So it's sort of like an 11-minute long version of Groundhog Day that goes through a load of progressions of like different musical phrases that are sort of made up, and I performed this live in a live stream. You can actually see that live stream, the link is below, but it is also on this vinyl as well. The reason why I put the instrumentals on the back is because my absolute favourite vinyl is Unlimited Orchestra by The Human League, which is actually an instrumental mashup version of a lot of the songs off the Dare album, but they're instrumentals, which is absolutely amazing. I can listen to it over and over again, you know, constantly. So I thought it would be a nice touch to have the instrumental and extended versions on side B. And also the next EP is very close as well. The next song off it is coming out in about a week and a half. Yeah, this EP was sort of like the beginning to take Look Mum No Computer seriously as a musical venture, because I always did musical things as bands before. So it took me quite a while to put out this EP. Needless to say, Look Mum No Mixtape actually came out before it. So yeah, if you're interested in getting a copy of this, there is a link below. And if you want to hear some live modular jams, I'm actually doing the next Patreon live stream tonight at 8 PM Greenwich Mean Time, British summertime actually. And yeah, this is Human Procrastination. I've been Look Mum No Computer. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't be scared to try it.